Hey y'all, I was recently diagnosed with ARFID, and I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce that or if you say it all together, but this is a trigger warning. I am going to talk about eating disorders, so if that's something that triggers you, make sure you click off this video. So ARFID stands for Avoidant Restrictive Food Intake Disorder, and it is a type of eating disorder that I don't think I hear a lot of people talk about. This specific type of eating disorder is not brought on by a body image issue or restricting your diet due to a weight or how you feel about your body. It's none of that. It's more geared towards an actual fear of eating. For example, somebody like me, I am extremely allergic to a lot of things, and I've been having a lot of stomach problems. And so when I go to eat food, I'm so afraid it's going to make me sick. So I will restrict myself. I won't eat as much, so that way maybe it won't make me as sick, or I just won't touch it if I think for some reason it's going to have something in it that makes me sick, if that makes any sense. So as we know, eating disorders are brought on by many different things, and there are many different types of eating disorders. I'm not going to sit here and go through them. But if you think you might be suffering with this eating disorder, I kind of wanted to tell you, some signs that I knew it was getting bad. The first symptom I started kind of really noticing was my hair falling out due to malnutrition. Because I was restricting my food so much, I was losing my hair. I didn't have a drive to do anything. I was fatigued all the time. I just wanted to lay in bed, which is not normal for me. I'm usually really, really driven and really focused on doing a bunch of stuff because, that's how I keep myself busy, and it's kind of how I escape anxiety, which is not healthy. But I like to keep myself really busy. And with this eating disorder, I was just laying around all the time, and I didn't feel good, and I was losing weight very, very drastically. I went from, I think I lost about 10 pounds in a span of 4 months. And that's kind of where I knew it was starting to get really, really bad. So if you're struggling with an eating disorder, first I want to say you're not alone. And you're not crazy, and it's okay to struggle, because we're all going to struggle with something. And for you, it might just be an eating disorder. Right now, that's where my life's at, and that's okay, because it's just a season. It's just a season in our lives that we're at, and it's not the full picture. And we know that God's going to take care of us, and it's so important not to put these mental health diagnoses in this label of an identity, because that's not who you are. Like I said, I'm not anxiety. I just get anxious, and I can get through it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not an eating disorder. I just have one that I need to get through. But I did want to kind of talk about some things that you might not know about an eating disorder and how the recovery process is, because it's not an easy road, and it's not very fun, and it's been pretty hard. So recovery is trying to eat again. So basically what happens when you have an eating disorder is basically your digestive system is okay, she's not going to feed me anymore, so I'm just going to stop making the things that I need to make in order for her to feed me, and I'm not going to make the good bacteria, no digestive enzymes, and I am not going to remember how to digest properly, and I'm just going to shut that whole system down, which is basically what your body's doing. So when you're recovering, you're trying to wake it back up. And waking it back up entails some awful things. You get bad stomach aches, you get really, really nauseous, bloating, the bowel movement issues is a big thing. Lots of gas. It feels like crap because your body's trying to produce stuff again that it hasn't produced. So when you're kind of just trying to recover, it's really important that you stick to foods that are easy to digest and things that don't make you sick, things you're not allergic to. Don't eat foods that are really hard on you. It's really important to kind of take it at your own pace, because healing is different for everybody. And like for me, it's been trying to have small meals every like 3 hours. I'm not supposed to go 4 hours without having a meal. And I know that sounds crazy. Like, of course you're not going to go 4 hours without having a meal. But like for me personally, like I could have went, like sometimes I wouldn't even eat until dinner. Like I would have one meal a day. Maybe I'd have like a snack and a meal. But then again, when I was eating my dinner, I wasn't eating at all. So I really wasn't getting nutrients at all. And that's a very scary thing, because that's where you start losing weight and the malnutrition happens, and then other problems start to arise, of course, which is where we think possibly my ulcer could have started. Eating disorders are very serious, and they are something that you do need to have a medical professional help you with. Like I have a nutritionist, and I have a therapist, and I have my primary care doctor. I have a gastrologist. Or gastroenterologist, I think is what they're called. I have a lot of doctors that I have to see all the time now, because I had this fear. And there's nothing wrong with you when you have these problems or you have this fear. There's nothing wrong with you. Don't sit here and think that you're crazy, because you're not. You just have a fear. And sometimes our anxieties and our fears tend to take over. And that's just what mine did. And that's probably what yours did too. I'm trying to be super careful with my words here, because I know mental health is different for everybody and everyone experiences it differently. And I experience it different than you are, and you're going to experience it different than the person beside of you. And we're all experiencing mental health and our issues in a different way. And of course, I'm not oblivious to that. But I do want to make sure that you know that you're loved, that you're supported, that you're not alone, and you should never be alone. Do this with your community, right? With your village. Do it with your people, whether that be your family, your friends, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it may be. Do it with your people. Don't do it by yourself, because I promise it is so much harder to struggle by yourself than to talk to somebody about what's going on. Get a counselor, get a therapist, get a psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever you need to do. Get somebody you can talk to, and then get a nutritionist if you need that. If you have an eating disorder, get some help. Because I'm telling you, having this village behind me to help me get through this is the only reason that I can have such a positive attitude. That, and the fact that God has got me, and I know that. I know that this season in my life is just a season. I know that I am not an eating disorder. I know I'm not anxiety. I know that I'm not any of these things. I am a child of God, and I'm loved by Him, and I'm cared for by Him. And anything that happens is in His plan at His time. So I know that what's going on with me, it will be okay, because I know there's a brighter side, right? There's a grass is greener on the other side, is what I was trying to say. I know it will get better. And it's so hard to experience things like this and not feel like it will get better. And that's why I wanted to sit here and just have this conversation and remind you, it does get better. I am here for you. I'm trying to raise more awareness for this eating disorder, because it isn't really talked about, and it's still valid. Even if you're struggling with this eating disorder or a different kind of eating disorder, you're still valid. Everything you're experiencing, you are valid, and you are loved, and you are cared for, and God is there with you, like every step of the way. Get a village, talk to God, rely on Him, and lean on Him, because I'm going to tell you, He already knows your past, present, and future, right? He has already got it all planned out. He knows what you're going through right now. He sees you. He loves you. He's going to give you the tools to get through it, because you're not doing it alone. You will never walk through these valleys alone. There's a Bible verse that says, I will not walk through the valley of the shadow of death, because you're with me, your rod and your staff or your sword, they comfort me. Don't quote me on that. But that verse I cling to so much, because it's true. I'm not walking through this alone. I'm walking with God. So if you're struggling with this disorder, I am here for you. Message me, DM me, whatever you have to do. I am here, and I would be glad to help you in any way that I possibly can. But go get help. Go talk to somebody. Go talk to God. You are loved. You are special, and you are so important.